thank you very much for joining us for this discussion tonight with a distinguished panel, former Foreign Minister, two former Ministers of State for External Affairs, Dr. Karan Singh, a distinguished politician, and
And the chairman of my party's foreign policy cell, I hasten to add.
So some of the suggestions in the book hopefully will relay back to governance as well then, Shashi. And of course, two well-known journalists and foreign policy observers. Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. Shashi, you referred in your book flap as well. I think you like that analogy of the elephant lovemaking and Indian diplomacy. When you say it's sprightlier now, what's changed and why do you actually think the whole question of lots of noise and not much coming out of it has actually changed?
No, there was a phase when perhaps our foreign policy was seen or heard by others as being rather declaratory, that we would pronounce from on high, about world affairs and so on, sometimes in a fairly moralistic tone and that kind of thing. I think we've become a lot more pragmatic, a lot more focused. And one simple example of it is the extent to which, and I've witnessed this change simply in my interactions with Indian diplomats over the last 3.5 decades, the extent to which we have gone from being an essentially political foreign service, where people, frankly, disdained economics as the affair, as the work of shopkeepers and businessmen, to a situation where every Indian ambassador is pretty conscious that the economic relationship with the country is accredited to is as important, perhaps more important, than the insightful political cables he's sending home. And I don't know if the Foreign Secretary would agree with me, he's sitting right there and looking slightly dubious, but I would suggest that this is an example of the ways in which we have become far more practically focused than perhaps at one time we were perceived as being.
Mr. Jaswant Singh, a former foreign minister, of course also at a time when there were particularly difficult times after the nuclear tests carried out by India. Yet many would say that the seeds of the Indo-US nuclear deal, the great triumph of Indian diplomacy in the last decade, were laid in the NDA regime. Looking today at Indian diplomacy and the way ahead, what would you say, and after reading Shashi's book and the ideas expressed there, what's your reaction to that, sir?
The author, Shashi Tharoor, said he relates foreign policy to his own constituency, say Thiruvananthapuram. What do the citizens, how do the citizens react to it? And I leave a thought, with you, Shashi, that whereas errors of domestic policy can be corrected domestically and in the lifetime, or in our own lifetimes, errors of foreign policy take generations to correct. And nations have to carry the mistakes for one generation after another. And the classic example, of course, in India's case, are our relations both with the People's Republic of China, how it all originated and where we are today. And secondly, of course, the question of Jammu and Kashmir. You also asked about the nuclear test of and the United States and relations like that. But we forget that the actual first step was the PNE of 1974. And actually it goes back really to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Homi Bhabha, the steps taken. It is not possible for any one government to have prepared the whole, and it is an endeavor that really started with late Panditji, was carried on, continued by every successive generation of prime ministers. Did the United States of America take the line that they did because of the test? My good friend Madeleine was here the other day, and she had then said that Jaswant, you've dug a hole and now you better... I don't want to repeat what I said then. And then she also said, but you can't, you do not expect that you'll be able to enter the high portals of the world through a bang. And I said, it's because of the bang that you're sitting and talking to us.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.